I always loved the story that these two boys in Blackpool had figured out there was a new music possible and were imagining it and getting ready to do it. And then they opened NME, read this review, fucking went out to a record shop, bought Blue Monday, brought it back, put it in the record player, closed the curtains, went to bed for a week. That was the Pet Shop Boys. So they beat them to it. However, the famous story when we fell out with Martin, and Martin wanted a Fairlight, and we wanted to build a Hacienda, that's my joke about creating Trevor Horn. I now realise that if Martin had got his Fairlight, he would have done what Trevor did with Paul and with the boys in with Holly Johnson and the rest of it. He would have done it before Trevor, and in the way we fucked him over. This is Rob and me by building our stupid fucking nightclub. Andy Rasmus, it was his fault.
I just as a final note, and probably a suitably somber note.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah, handkerchief.
Give me that. Thank you.
Go.
I plan to have.
Go.
I plan to have Hallelujah by the Happy Mondays playing at my funeral. Although the choice tends to change every time I'm.
But which version?
It.
Is it the Weatherall version?
It's the Weatherall version.
I mean, that moment in 24 Hour Party People when there's the overhead shot of Manchester, and when we did the film The Mad Fuckers, which was the Happy Mondays video makers wrote this film, The Mad Fuckers, we always asked ourselves, would Manchester, viewed from a helicopter shot from above, look as sexy as LA or New York? And there's this wonderful shot which says yes, and you get the opening bit of Hallelujah with that wonderful plane chant backing. The plane chant is just, in fact my son has sampled it to use on some of his jungle tracks. Now that is a fantastic, the Weatherall mix is just the one.
I'm taking it as read that you'll die of a Viagra overdose in the arms of a 22-year-old heiress.
No, she's 36 now, 35 and she inherited fuck all.
Okay. What song from all of those that you've been associated with would be the one to accompany your final journey? It's a Desert Island Disc question.
Desert Island Disc question. It would probably be because, suitably, I'd like to see everyone crying their eyes out. It was very odd. It comes across it happens to me all the time, this particular track. I try to avoid getting in the limousines that come up the Crozette when you're in competition at Cannes, and I was walking towards the Crozette, and there's about 20, they stop all the traffic at the Cannes Film Festival, and suddenly there's this scream from Andrew Eaton, the producer 24 Hour, get in the fucking car. So I got in the car, and we had two cars. Coogan was in the first car, obviously. And finally, when everyone's inside up the red carpet, finally they draw up, out next to the red carpet. It's now 10 to 10, and you are disgorged from the silver grey Mercedes to go up the stairs. I got out the door, stood on the pavement, and what just suddenly starts booming out all over the fucking place from the speakers all over Cannes, Atmosphere by Joy Division. And I just thought, I don't believe this. And I began to get tearful. I realised that all this fuss, I'm about to go and see a film about most of my friends who are dead, and I slunk into the bushes, and it was actually Andrew Eaton's wife who dragged me back and dragged me into, in fact, Andrew then dragged me up the red carpet and slipped me a Frenchie, which was quite sweet of him. So it would have to be Atmosphere. That's where it all begins, because not only is it Ian and Joy Division and New Order, and but you've chosen a Monday song, so we're filled in there. But also it's got those the Hannett genius of those the falling bells, the trilling bells, and also I always thought I had the video made. I knew that years later when we did Atmosphere that the only way to do this was to use photographs of Ian. So we should obviously get one of the photographers, in this case Mr. Corbyn, to use his photographs and let him make a video. So he made the Atmosphere video. And Rob told me that the video was shite, it was fucking awful, and the group hated it. So for 15 years I've always believed that the group hated it, and I found out 3 months ago the group loved it. I've always loved it, so fuck off, Rob. Fantastic. So Atmosphere will, don't walk away in silence.
All right. Tony, talk to you in another 20 years.
Make it 10 if we're still here. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Keep it running. So.
All right.